memorable call because remember the Cardinals needed that win, or the Vikings needed to win the NFC North. They could not be the wild card. The Packers already were beating the Denver Broncos pretty much because the Broncos were in the playoffs, and it was a meaningless game for them. It was a meaningless game for them, but the it didn't mean nothing for the Broncos because Kyle Shanahan's dad, Mike Shanahan, was resting all their starters. So pretty much the Vikings needed that. The Packers would have win and needed that win to win the division. They could not be a wild card. The Packers needed to win this to stay alive. And then the, the last play of the game was sounded like this by Paul Allen on the Vikings radio network. Pull this up. We'll try to pull this up. Hold on. And I'm trying to figure was Keith Pope. And that was Paul Allen, longtime voice of the Minnesota Vikings on the Vikings radio network. It was Nate Poole for the Cardinals doing it and catching that ball, and it was that's just how the finality is. The Cardinals weren't going nowhere. They're playing the role of spoiler, knocking out the Minnesota Vikings on the last play of the season, and the Vikings losing that heartbreaker for them to end for their season. For the Vikings fans, this is just another of a heartbreaker as they end up winning that game. The Vikings losing that game by a score of 19-17 or 20-17 on that Hail Mary by and that Hail Mary, the last play of the game that knocked them out, and and I think it was just a sad thing for Josh McCown, the journeyman quarterback, who was the journeyman quarterback, throwing that to Nate Poole, and the Cardinals were playing for something, and I think that was Coach McGinnis's Dave McGinnis's last game as head coach. He was for the Cardinals. He was fired. They wanted him to walk out as a winner, knowing that he was going to get fired. For the Cardinals, the team was not going nowhere. And like I said, any team could get beat on any given Sunday. And, those guys were playing. Like I said, lesson to be learned. No win, no lead. You're safe. None. You know that you got to give the Cardinals credit. They kept on playing. They had nothing to play for, and they're playing for pride. And for those guys that are playing for to keep their spot on the roster, in the NFL, they're playing in that perspective. They're playing to keep to earn that they want to stay on that roster, be part of for part of their plans for the long haul. And I never forget talking with talking with form with talking with my man a couple weeks ago when after the Niners when they won the NFC West down the desert, talking with my man David Murphy from Big Sky, who covers the Arizona Cardinals. He told, and even back in October, he was telling me, don't sleep on this team. And when Kyler Murray, once he got back, they're going to have a lot to say. And every game is not easy, and it's not that easy. And you can't overlook any of these teams. And guys mailing it in, trying to pack up their fishing gear, their hunting gear, or their PlayStations or whatever, waiting for their wives, girlfriends, or acquaintances or whoever to get out of Dodge. And that's not the attitude in the NFL. That's not the good way to do that, because if you do that during the game when you know you're not going with, because you are going to be evaluated. If you're doing that, trying to tank it in, that's not a good attitude, and you won't last that long. NFL means not for long when you're doing it, when you're getting paid millions of dollars. So that's a pet peeve, that you cannot take anything for granted. You can't take anything for granted. You just can never take nothing for anything like that for granted. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they have just been the kind of this free fall, 4 losses in the last 5 games since they were 10-1. And you look back now in perspective, about a month ago, about exactly a month ago, uh, when the Niners came into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles, and that incident when the Eagles security guy poked at Dre Greenlaw and I think after what happened when he did poke at Dre Greenlaw and he got kicked out of the game, I believe that sequence totally altered the course of the season right there. The Niners have been on a fire roll. They have now, after that 3-game winning streak, and they just bounced back. They have now won 7 of their last 8 games. They've won 7 of their last 8 games since that 3-game losing streak, and now they're on a roll. Is that we getting ready to take on the LA Rams in the regular season finale? It's going to be don't mean nothing in the standings. The Niners are going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They right now sit in the standings at 13 and or at 12-4, and they're trying to finish with the best record. Well, try to finish with the best, and it would be something that if they were to win, and either the Eagles or Cowboys lose, the Niners could finish with the best record in outright. They hadn't finished it outright since 1984. So that's a lesson to be learned. And I want to read in more depth what they were saying about that game. You got to give, like I said, some good pieces from Yahoo Sports. You can never take nothing for granted in this game. And Jason Owens said, and there's no doubt that Murray is their guy, and the Niners, will look at this team. Cardinals could be a team that could give the Niners some trouble going forward. Their head coach Murray raved about in a Tuesday interview, tamper with the Cardinals might select to move away with their former first round pick. And Kyler Murray, of course, coming back from that torn ACL injury, and he the Cardinals have been playing some bear football lately, and and this is a good psychological thing, and thinking they could knock out the Seattle Seahawks in their regular season finale, and if they were to do that, that'd be something that a springboard they could go forward for next year, going into the off season. And I just want to read something coming out of there from the Arizona Republic. And Joey M. Romero from the Arizona Republic. And this, according to the piece, this was a meaningful for a team that struggled all season trying to rebuild with a new head coach, a new general manager. It's all a team roster of veterans trying to prove themselves and rookies trying to show they belong in the NFL. And the Cardinals played well in all main three phases. More difficult for the Eagles to clinch the NFC East. Few gave the Cardinals much of a chance, but Kyler Murray and James Conner led the way on offense. And their first-year head coach, former Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, defeat the team whose defense he guided to Super Bowl 57. Mm-hmm. Gann downplayed it, but it was sweet victory coming back to Philadelphia, where his defensive coordinator for 2 seasons, being now hired as the Cardinals head coach. Here's what players from Cardinals and Eagles had to say about Sunday's game. I don't know, just played well enough this Sunday, you know what, and some of the requirements that's focused the attention to detail. A lot of teams just pack it in right now. That's our guys. So there, that's just a tribute to the character in that locker room. And I respect Jonathan Gann for that, for what he has. What he's kind of the culture. Like I said, we talked with my man David Murphy. Talked with Murph from Big Sky Sports. He does a podcast on Big Sky Sports Network. He does some covering of the Arizona Cardinals, and this Cardinal team could surprise a lot of people next year. And I think the way they can continue to play role of spoiler, they're going to play the Seahawks to close out their home schedule, something to spring forward, go to the off season. You know, something that they want to go into the right direction. And also, this was a good piece by their Cardinals. One of the Cardinals writers, and he goes by the name of Jose Romero from the Arizona Republican. We'll just hear what Kyler Murray said about preparing for that game when he drive. I want to post.
Hold on, we're gonna well okay, that was Kyler Murray with that win.
With Kyler Murray talk about that win on Sunday for the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be a team that could surprise some people. They had overhauled that team. It was just a disastrous. The Cardinals now go to 4-12, and the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that a lot of people thought was the best, as the reigning defending Super Bowl champs, uh, looked like they were going to, you know, looked like it was going to on San Francisco, but they ever since that loss and that ugly incident on the by that Eagle security, that just kind of altered the course of the season. And like I said, you got to go play. That's what like my old lesson to be learned. Old high school baseball coach, Mr. Joe Guaco. He was my. That's what you play the game. That's what you play the game for. You're playing to win. Those guys, playing for next year, and you can't ever take nothing for granted because it could blow up in your face real quick. So and the Niners early in the year kind of got a little too high after that win against Dallas, and then they go on that 3-game losing streak, and they they get beat by the Cleveland Browns on a Jake Moody missed his field goal, and they're going to the playoffs. So actually, that was a good quality win for the Cleveland Browns, and and we're gonna. And then they lose to Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football, which the Vikings lost on Sunday night. They're now fighting for their lives to stay alive in the NFC playoff picture, and and then lose to a good quality Cincinnati Bengal team who now have been eliminated, but they were hurt without Joe Burrow with that thumb injury. So the Niners, and then you lose last Monday night to the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas uh, last week, last Monday night, last Christmas night. So you know the Niners are going to do you know way a good bounce back win for San Francisco as they win. They get a split of the Beltway series. They go 1-1 versus the Beltway. Baltimore and Washington D.C. they're about an hour apart. So those are two good cities I'd like to go visit on my bucket list somewhere down the road. So let's take a look at some of the. I want to do some highlights. Take a look at some of the highlight, or before that, our segment for 49ers on Niners Radio 49ers, presented by Pepsi. Made for football watching. Pepsi's the official soft drink of your San Francisco 49ers. So let's take a look of. I want to try to get some. I want to. So I want to try to get some of that sound from. And it's just been a special season for the 49ers. Niners taking get a little try to get some sound bites from that win. You know, the Niners once that game had concluded that the 49ers clinching once that game ended, the Cardinal Eagle game was still progressing. But again, you got to give the Cardinals a lot of credit for just staying after, and like they kept on playing hard, and even though they weren't going nowhere, playing the role of spoiler, like you know, there's no easy win. No team is safe. I don't care if they were playing a Pop Warner League. Those guys are if it's the San Francisco Seahawks junior JV team they ran out there, those guys are being paid a lot of money to play, and they want to keep their spot on the roster. So you just have to you have to look at it, in putting it in perspective. The Niners, you know, a week, 2 weeks ago they wrapped up the NFC West. Then 2 weeks later they clinched the number one seed with their win, coupled with the Eagles' loss to the Cardinals in Philadelphia. So the road to Super 58 will go through San Francisco. And then, of course, the Baltimore Ravens wrapped up the AFC North, and they clinched home field advantage throughout the playoffs with their win over the Miami Dolphins on Sunday as well. So, Eve, might want to. We're gonna just play some video highlight. I want to try to uh, go set up some video, put up on shop. We're gonna. I want to just. We're gonna play a little montage of Greg Papa's play-by-play from the Niners Radio Network. Hope you enjoy that. Though, ready? And we're gonna play it right now. Hold on. So we're just waiting for this thing to download. It's just taking some time.
Here we go. Here we go. Let's enjoy it.
Okay, we're gonna stop right there. We have some technical problems, so we're not gonna play any more of that. So we apologize for the. We just apologize for that. So sorry about that. So we're gonna have to get like a system that could, you know. So we're gonna continue on Niners Radio 49, and a lot of you watching us on Facebook as well on StreamYard. uh, Check us checking us in on. Okay, we're gonna continue on Niners Radio 49. So we're gonna take a look at with the standings of the NFC for Week 15, and you look at it right now the rate in the NFC playoff. In the NFC, the Niners are 12-4. They clinched the number one seed, and they get a first round bye. The Detroit Lions and the Cowboys are both dead, even at 11-5. It's a three-way tie for the second best record in the NFC. Dallas Cowboys right now would have the tiebreaker of both Philadelphia and Detroit. The Cowboys have beaten the Lions head to head, and then the 49er, and then the Lions or the Cowboys would be in first place. They have the second tiebreaker over the Eagles with the because of the better conference record. They both have one loss in the division, but they have that tiebreaker. They have that head to head tiebreaker because of a better conference record. So taking a look at some other records, or some other, and you know, in for the Atlanta Falcons, they could clinch the NFC South with a win and a Tampa Bay Bucks loss. The Cowboys will win the NFC East with a win or a Cowboys loss, or a win, a tie, or Eagles loss. The Packers will be taking on the Bears, and that's going to be the late game. That's on CBS. Packers clinched the playoff berth with a win. They need a win or a tie or Seahawks loss or and a Saints loss or or a tie, a Seahawks loss, and a Tampa loss. Vikings will be taking on the Detroit Lions on Sunday in Motown, and that game means nothing for the Lions. They clinch a playoff. They'll clinch a playoff spot with a win and a Packers loss, and the, the Saints will take on the Falcons. They could clinch the NFC South with a win and a Bucks loss, or a tie and a Bucks loss. Saints could clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Seahawks loss or a tie, or a Packers loss or a tie. The Eagles could clinch the NFC North with a win and a Dallas loss, or a tie or a Cowboys loss. The Seahawks will play Arizona, and they could clinch a playoff spot with a win and a Packers loss, a win, and then in the AFC, the Ravens are the number one seed. The Chiefs are 10-5. Browns are 11-5. Dolphins are 11-5. The the Bills trail the Dolphins by one game, and that's going to be an NBC game for Sunday night. The Bills could clinch the AFC East with a win. That is simple as that. And then they clinch a playoff berth with a tie or Steelers loss, Jaguars loss, and Houston, the Colts, and the Texans both tie. The Colts could clinch. Will play the Texans on Saturday. Colts could clinch the AFC South with a win over Jacksonville, with a win and a Jacksonville loss. The Colts could clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Colts tie or a Steelers loss. The Jaguars could win. They'll take on the Titans. They'll be in Tennessee. Did they clinch the AFC South with a win or a Jaguars or Colts or Texans tie? The Jaguars will clinch a playoff berth with a win, with a tie, or Steelers loss. And then the Dolphins, the winner of that Dolphins Bills game will win the AFC East. And then the Steelers will take on Baltimore on Saturday. And that Steelers clinch a playoff spot with a win plus a Buffalo Bills lose, a win and a Jaguars loss, or a tie. For Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Steelers, 17th consecutive winning season. He never finished under 500. So that's how the update of the playoff positioning is right now. We're gonna get ready to wrap it up, and hopefully later this week we'll try to get some guests on Niners Radio 49. As this is a meaningless game, we will have Niners Radio 49 during the bye week. We'll try to get some special guests and have our Forever 49ers segment, have a former 49er alumni come on our podcast. That's it for now. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. I'd like to thank you for watching this special edition of Niners Radio 49 Victory Monday to Tuesday edition. Of course, we didn't have it have our own, and we will be back on our Monday slot next week. Next Monday is regularly scheduled time as we get you ready for the recap the regular season. Niners taking that next step. Hopefully, you're now just 2 wins away from the Super Bowl. But now I'm Brian Professor Davis. Thank you for watching, and so long. Thank you for watching 49ers Live on Niners Radio 49.